There are a lot of cars that are designed for the US that have never made it over here to the UK. That's largely because of their size. I mean, our roads are generally narrower, our parking spaces are generally smaller, petrol prices in America are generally a lot cheaper, which means driving big pickups and SUVs over there aren't as hard on the wallet, even if they are just as hard on the environment. But every now and again, a car that's been designed for the US slips through the net and makes its way over to here. This is the Toyota Highlander, and it is a big old bruiser. So in this video, I'm going to cast aside the normal aspersions and I will assess this car for the family SUV that it is. But before we do that, subscribe to the Car Buyer YouTube channel, click on the bell icon and like this video if you like it. Let's do it.
It shouldn't really come as a surprise that Toyota is bringing the Highlander to the UK. SUVs are big business, and with premium manufacturers like BMW and Mercedes lapping up the sales of these cavernous seven-seaters at prices often approaching £100,000 or more, Toyota's attempt actually looks relatively affordable. The Highlander is hybrid only, which should, in theory, allow owners to enjoy relatively reasonable running costs. Not something you can usually do when driving around in a car as big and as heavy as this.
Now we'll get onto running costs and stuff like that in a second. First of all, I want to bring you in here. Looking in the rearview mirror, that third row of seats and that rear view window looks really far away. This car is big. I know you think the Kia Sorento and the Skoda Kodiaq are big. This is longer and much wider. And then once you look forward, very conventional dash. The dials back here, I mean, they're not the most futuristic, but you know, they're very easy to follow. Got a little screen here, which again, not the most cutting edge. Graphics and interface is all just okay. I do have an annoyance. And that is, if you buy this car in America, then you get treated to the wider 12.3-inch touchscreen. But for some reason, us Europeans have to deal with this little tiddly 8-inch one. And I don't know why. Is it because our roads are narrower? Parking spaces are smaller? So we have to have a smaller screen? Is that what it is? I don't think that's fair. Don't think that's fair. Oh, however, there is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So that's a win-win. And physical twisty-do climate controls, which we all know I'm a fan of, so okay Toyota, we can be friends. Now look, the quality in here is also really quite nice. You've got some lovely soft touch materials just kind of dotted about the cabin. And this veneer little touch, I think looks really lovely. Plus, the Highlander hasn't forgotten this is a practical family car. So there are so many little cubbies and holes and bits where you can keep all your stuff. Yeah, big fan of that.
There's only one engine option if you're in the market for a Highlander, a 2.5-litre petrol-electric hybrid. It's not a plug-in, so you don't have to worry about charging, but equally, that means it's not particularly attractive for company car buyers. CO2 emissions of 163 grams per kilometre and a list price of more than £40,000 across the range make it quite an expensive car to tax for private buyers too. It may not be a plug-in, but Toyota claims around 40 miles per gallon, which is pretty impressive for a car of this size, especially one without a diesel engine. We managed pretty close to that figure, but we weren't hauling around 5 kids and the dog. So, beware. Just because it's a hybrid doesn't necessarily mean you'll be saving the money by making the switch from a conventionally powered car.
Now normally I would go straight on to what this car is like to drive, but we are pragmatists here at Car Buyer, and if you're watching this review then you're probably a little bit more interested in how big the boot is, or if you can fit a Nicola-sized person on that third row of seats. So first up, middle row. Decent amount of legroom, right? Well, how about now? Look at that! There is 18 centimetres of movement in these seats. And if you've got them all the way back, if there's no one sat back there or nothing in the boot, I mean, you can lounge back here in full-blown luxury. And then put the seats further back forward to the middle-ish position. Question is, can you fit Nicola in that third row of seats? Well, we'll find out right now. The magic of television. Okay, there's a decent amount of room back here, probably better for shorter trips, but getting in the back was so easy because of how far these seats move forward. This car's massive, mate.
As with any 7-seater, there are loads of ways you can configure the boot. But even with all the seats in place, there are still 332 litres to play with. That's more than you'll find in a Ford Fiesta. Fold down seats 6 and 7 and it measures 658 litres up to the parcel shelf. The Highlander is at its best when you fold everything flat and treat it like a van. With almost 2,000 litres, there ain't much you can lift that won't fit in here.
Now, while the biggest priority when you're buying a car like this is probably going to be practicality, no one wants to buy a new car that's a complete disaster to drive. Well, thankfully, this is a very familiar system. 2.5 litre petrol electric hybrid system, which is pretty similar to the one that's in the RAV4. And we like the RAV4, so that's good. Now, this isn't a plug-in hybrid, so you're not actually going to get that much distance on electric power alone. But if you're going to be creeping from traffic light to traffic light, or if you're going to be just going around a car park, you can do all of that without using the engine. But then, when the engine does kick in, it's very smooth. Like most hybrids, this car is definitely happiest when you're driving it in a nice, calm manner. The thing is, with this CVT Auto Box, while they are getting better, they're still not as good to drive as a normal automatic. So when you put your foot down, the engine kind of goes wah, like that. When it's up to speed, it's fine, but when you're building it up to speed, it goes wah, and the revs really build up. I mean, it's smooth because it doesn't have any gears to contend with. It just gets a bit annoying every now and again. The thing is this isn't the kind of car that you're going to need to drive like that anyway. You've got the electric motor, so that gives it that nice little punch that we're used to. It does 0 to 62 in 8.3 seconds, so really you don't have to put your foot on the floor in this Highlander. When it does get up to speed, it is nice and smooth, to be fair.
That comfort is only emphasised by the level of kit included as standard on every Highlander. All the info on equipment is available on our full review on carbuyer.co.uk, but with only 2 trims to choose from, you won't need to pore over the brochure for hours on end. We often recommend going for the lower spec models as they're often better value, and that's true in the Highlander's case. Spending a little more, upgrading to XL or XL Premium does add loads of luxury features like front and rear heated seats, a powered tailgate, and 360-degree cameras, and it'll only cost you a few extra quid a month, so it's worth considering.
Now, I mentioned earlier, this is the kind of car that you want to drive in a relaxing manner because of the gears and the engine. But when it comes to corners, I think the sheer size and the weight of this car makes it feel a bit, how do I put it? Ooh, it's kind of just how it feels. There is a word for it. Wallowy. There we go. It feels wallowy. You know? This car is unashamedly designed for straight American roads. So when it's on the motorway, it is very happy there. It's very comfortable. It's very relaxed. It's very quiet. I mean, you do get the occasional pothole here and there and you feel them, but that's not a deal breaker. Ah, deal makers and deal breakers time. Why not, eh?
The Highlander is huge. There's loads of space inside. Toyota's flagship SUV is one of the most practical cars on sale. Quiet and comfortable, the Highlander aces long motorway journeys. It's not cheap, but it is built using top quality materials. It's a shame that our infotainment system feels so outdated. It's not that responsive and the graphics can't match more modern rivals. Yes, its gargantuan size does mean it's massively practical, but it also makes it a challenge to drive it on tight British B roads. Oh, and parking isn't easy either. While there's nothing wrong with the hybrid powertrain, the lack of plug-in or pure electric models means it doesn't hold much appeal as a company car.
I'm not going to lie, it was very tempting to dismiss this as this is an American car. It does not belong here in the UK, but actually, looking at it, sitting in it, driving it, I mean, yes, it does feel pretty big on UK roads, but the bonus is that it feels wonderfully huge on the inside. And if you want something of this size, but you can't or won't stretch to a Land Rover Discovery or, I don't know, BMW X7 or something, there's not a lot in this price range that is as practical as this. But unwieldy dimensions aside, there is another downfall. The hybrid powertrain, while it is very well integrated, it seems like it's the type of car that's just going to be used by private buyers who can't plug in at home. So it's not going to be a big seller in the UK in this one, which is a shame.
If you like this video, then why not watch our review of the BMW X7 or our SUVs playlist. Thanks for watching.